Hello, fellow Beastians. This is your one and only gaming beast, and we're continuing. Yeah, 2 days late. It was supposed to be Wednesday. Wednesday, I had a real life engagement thing, and my whole afternoon pretty much was gone. By the time I got home, I had no time. I had to go to sleep for work. Pretty much, like, I had a little bit still extra, but I wanted to chill a little bit. I had to help out a friend of mine. Point is that on Thursday, though, I just felt in generally like just I needed like me time. Okay. Now, though, I'm not gonna say like, oh, I'm gonna wait again for 5 million years or like even a year or even a day because you demand it. I think. I mean, at least the fellow Beastians do. So, and that's all I need. So I thought, okay, I will still squeeze it in on Friday for this week. I'm recording it as we speak now. It's 2:22 p.m. Very nice round number there. We are, yeah. So topics wise, I was thinking a bit what kind of topics I should do. Now, I think I've ranted on of stuff that will come out. Um, I still want to talk about. I know I've been like teasing as like the forever thing now. The Wolverine and Deadpool or Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever it's called. I think Deadpool and Wolverine review will come out, but I want to rewatch it. I just didn't have the time after work. I've been not, like at times not feeling to watch anything. It was like quite some time where I didn't play any computer games, video games at all. I've been mostly like chilling, watching TV, and trying to do more creative, more productive stuff too. Um, and then I would like for a while didn't did not watch anything or very little. Um, I have yeah, so I will watch it and I will review it. So I thought let's go into more cringe content, and we have two big comments from Death Adder and from Tomcat X, and we'll talk. I'll answer them in the Beast Mail segment, and yeah. So today we're talking about the Disney Plus TV show. And you know who the makers of and as a collective Disney Plus is, you know what kind of people they are.
One, two, three, four. Some people are annoying. Some people are so dumb.
Great pipe work, my friend.
So guess who's up first on a silver platter? That's right, not you, the worst turd burglar of the day.
Yes, of course, Disney Plus is a turd burglar. It had this. It was created in the turd burglar. Like I don't know if they have a Mount Doom. It's probably a big bunghole. Let's be honest. It has been cast out as a smart turdly burgly burger, and it has been stinking up the place with its bullshit. Beyond bullshit, biggest bullshit ever. And by the way, I recorded this. I had this kind of idea what I wanted to do, the generate the greatest turd burglar of the day song. And it took me a couple of generations, and I wanted to do like some old jazzy kind of snappy kind of thing. And now that I'm listening to it, I always think of like, of course, me being Fallout fan, Fallout head. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at I'm listening at my Pip-Boy and I'm about to like I don't know raid a vault or something, or like punch a Deathclaw in the face with a big gauntlet or something. Yeah, good old Fallout. I might talk about Fallout because Fallout 76 is like one of the few Fallout games I haven't played yet. I haven't played some of the. I haven't played Brotherhood of Steel. There is a tactical. I think it's a real-time tactics game, which I'm like, I like turn-based tactics. Real-time tactics, like Commandos, that's a little bit of pain in the ass because it doesn't have a pause feature. Like, give me a pause feature and we have paused real time and we're golden, right? Because that's like Baldur's Gate, that's Freedom Force, that's I think XCOM Armageddon, the third one, where they had turn-based, but they had also paused real-time, and some other games too. I think the UFO games, real-time tactical games. Like I liked always the look of them. Like there's a Robin Hood game that is like that, but anyway, I got mixed feelings on them. They can be good, but I haven't really gotten into them yet because of the, to me, in my opinion, clunkiness of controls. But anyway, so we are talking about. Give me a second here. I'm gonna take a B string. Quite the Death Mark of Doom. I know, disappointing, but I will follow it up. Probably when I record, I should at least then have like a good old filled up the old Death Mark. I mean, technically, it's here a big behind the scenes secret. It's like that plastic Halloween mug, but it's like I bought a new one. I found because like finding it was also a pain because it used to be more available, but it's one of those cheap Chinese plastic things. Of course, that's not true. I'm lying to you. The truth is, as I said, it was created by some dwarven smith and the ages past. Like a dwarven glassmaker or some shit like that. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know, or by some demons or whatever. I don't know, something. I haven't quite figured out the lore. I have to research more, quote unquote. Hint, hint. I gotta write some shit down. But anyway, yeah. So anyway, Fallout is being followed. Oh, speaking of Fallout, something I kind of erased from my memory because I hated it so much. Now there's a good topic, but I'll save it for next episode because now we're going Marvel's the Disney Plus shows. I'm gonna talk about probably then Fallout either next time or the one it's gonna be in the future. Okay, the Fallout TV show. Now I have some opinions to say about that, and it's mostly not gonna be good. So it's gonna be a mixed bag though. There's some good in it. It's not completely of a failure, but that's a different thing. Well, I'll talk about the Fallout series. That's a good one. I didn't think of that. I probably erased it out of my mind because there's so much I hated about it, and I just can't take it anymore. I have to talk about stuff that I like in some episodes because I know ranting is popular. People like when people rant in general, or when I rant. I don't know, but gotta talk about some fun stuff too. So and I will also maybe some mixing up some topics now. Here's a little announcement. I don't know if you guys are interested, but I've sometimes talked about role playing games, like tabletop role playing games, on this channel, but I will not on this channel. I won't continue to talk about them here because that's more of a niche thing that I enjoy. That's like unless it's like here's another topic. I could talk about the movie. I will probably talk about that here. Maybe there. I don't know. It could work here. It's again full of woke skinwalkers, like role critical failure for movie adoption, another shitty D&D adoption. But anyway, for different reasons mostly. But anyway, what is it that I'm talking about here today? Today I am okay. Yeah, as I said, today I'm going to talk about the Disney Plus shows. That means it's only going to be the TV shows from Disney, from the MCU live action ones. I'll probably do a separate one for the animated ones. I haven't seen everything yet. I don't plan to for the most part. The live action ones I'll probably watch just to torture myself. So yeah, this is all like once Disney Plus, because they had it as a separate like team. They had there was this whole kerfuffle with the early MCU shows. They were done by Marvel Television, which was separate, and there was this whole feud going. That's why a lot of them now I think are at least non-canon or considered non-canon for the most part. Although they have now canonized the Defenders saga shows, all the Netflix shows, because people liked them and they were good for the most part. I mean, you know my problems with them, but comparison to nowadays, I think sadly Agents of Shield is a mixed bag. there's a season here and there that was cool, but and then you got Inhumans. Still haven't seen Agent Carter yet. It is on Disney Plus. I think maybe just the short is canon. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. It does look cool though because it's like in that era, but it's probably mostly boring. Probably. I don't know. Could be cool. I don't know. Either way, we're not talking about those shows. I might talk about them, but I'm actually like for all the Netflix shows, the only one I finished completely was Daredevil. All the other ones, except the I watched Daredevil and the crossover, the Defenders one where they like unite, and but I haven't. But I kind of burned out because it has its own problems with it. Most of them had like two seasons. I think only Daredevil and Jessica Jones, for some reason, had three because then they would have continued, but they were then it switched over everything to Marvel to the Disney Plus, where they made in-house and where they actually made series incorporating the big name guys, so the big characters, the A-list characters and such, either completely or and they had also some with or they had cameos or whatever. They had some B, C, D list characters have shows. Anyway, um, yeah, so it's basically uh, the miniseries that they made, and technically Agatha all along is supposed to be the Marvel Television. That's what this counts as, but I will still count it in the same vein because it kind of feels that way, and I'll explain for a reason. It's just a marketing gimmick for the most part. Um, I would consider She-Hulk Attorney at Law a more traditional series where it has the sitcom length, and also that's what it feels like, a shitty sitcom. But anyway, let's before I get into She-Hulk, oh Jesus, that might be the last one. But anyway, um, so I said okay, I started to watch, like it's been a while, but I watched the first one before even, and it was WandaVision. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's the worst, but it's not really great either. But before I really get into this, this is gonna be a spoiler section. So I know for some listeners, I guess I don't know, maybe at most, I don't know if fucking Death Adder even would watch those because I would say this to you, Death Adder, they're not worth it. They're not worth it because it's like it's just not worth it. Yes, they have the characters, but they are like I don't know. They are like they're just kind of the worst MCU slop, other than the last phase. What is it? Phase Ghibli Goop. I mean, that's what I would call it. Okay, what is the last phase? Well, not the newest phase because technically we're still in phase five. Uh, phase four was really bad for the most part. Like anything beyond phase three, and even phase three. I mean, phase three had Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel, which are two low points. And yes, I didn't really like Black Panther. It wasn't bad, but it was just okay. And okay, phase three it was already getting bad to me. Like Thor Ragnarok. I mean, there were some cool things about it, but it was okay, I guess. Like at least we had we had a kind of Planet Hulk storyline. But then Ant Man the Wasp and Captain Marvel were just dog tier shit. Like they're just really bad, just really bad. Um, Usually the two highlights are the two Spider-Man movies, and of course the Avengers movies. And then we had Captain America. So, like Phase Three is we had some really strong ones because they were building up. And technically, I'll agree with people that a Captain America Civil War should have been just called Avengers Civil War because it really is an Avengers movie. Like the entire plot line is evolves around that, and it has, you know, it's basically this. It's a miniature version of the Civil War plotline, you know, with the characters that they had um, post the second Avengers movie, you know. So to me, it's like, yeah, Phase Three was, but it had these rocky pillars. Like again, Black Panther was okay-ish, you know. Like I just didn't feel like I never was that big of a Black Panther fan, and I guess for some people it was really cool, whatever, and that's cool. But it's like not that great either. Like, but Ant-Man and the Wasp and Captain Marvel especially were like real big disappointments, and they squished those two because Ant-Man and the Wasp storyline with the how they use like to go through the quantum realm to do the quantum kind of time travel, but they're still going into separate timelines, so it's like time travel but not, I guess. That was the entire point with Endgame, so it was at least important to Endgame. Captain Marvel was not important because she popped up in Endgame and she didn't do anything. She did manage, yeah, to hurt Thanos a bit, but nobody cared just because she's the most powerful woman ever. I'm like, when who gives a shit? Fucking Captain America picked up Mjolnir for fuck's sakes, you know. His fucking shield broke, and and he's like, I can't. That was like, who cares about random chick that we never met? Now is such an important thing. It's like nobody cares, you know. Nobody fucking. If Silver Surfer popped up, that'd have been nice, or fucking Quasar or whatever. That would have been cool, or Nova or whatever. But or the actual original Captain Marvel. Fuck. And by original Captain Marvel, we go to DC's Captain Marvel. That would have been fucking crazy, you know? Amalgam universe, fucking DC versus Marvel. It will never happen unless Disney buys out fucking Warner Brothers, which I don't think will happen. Unless Warner Brothers DCU really dies down, but they're like a part of a bigger corporation, so we'll see. Like Fox was struggling. It'd be really funny though. Because then we could just have like they could just have a third imprint with the Amalgam comics, but they would probably ruin that anyway. So we can't have nice things, people. Anyway, is enough. We're not talking about the movies now. We're talking about the shitty TV shows. Maybe I'm just rambling to avoid that, um, but oh yeah, I have to mention Inhumans though. But that's all pre-Marvel because they weren't allowed to. They were only. Yes, they said, well, it's part of the MCU, but it was like they couldn't show a lot of stuff because there was kind of a feud going on between the guy like Kevin Feige and the guy who's running the Marvel TV section. So like even Agents of Shield, they would acknowledge events, and it was clearly said in specific times up to like the fifth season. The fifth season is where because then they returned because they went to the future in the fourth season and into space, and that was actually not a bad season. It wasn't great, but it probably one of the better seasons. Like I don't like Agents of Shield that much because it for one part it's too much Joss Whedon, you know, like you know what I mean. The Whedon style, like snarky dialogue. It's just like, oh, we're so meta and we're so sarcastic and so we're such quirky people, but we're really deep. You know, it's the same shit. If you've seen Buffy, if you've seen um, what's his face, Angel, you know what I'm talking about, okay? Or Agents of Shield, or the Great Firefly. Why was it like cats? It wasn't that great of a show. Like I love sci-fi. I actually dug the whole idea of a actual space western, but they were like, it wasn't western enough for me. Yes, they had like western things, but then I would have preferred something more like live action Brave Star or like I think I mentioned this already, or like Galaxy Rangers or Saber Star and the Star Sheriff, something like that. And instead it was like we have emotions and problems and we're fighting the evil South basically in space. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Um, it was still not a bad show. I think they closed a lot of the storylines with the movie. The movie wasn't bad either. I'm not saying like, oh, well, I mean, if it would have ran longer, I wouldn't have mind, but I don't think it was such like Special Unit 2 should have gotten an extra season. Spanish Special Unit 2 was really cool. That's a show that is underrated. Look it up. It technically shows 2 seasons, but they're like it's 20 22 episodes in total. Basically, Special Unit 2, imagine it's Man in Black, but instead of aliens, they're all like mythical creatures, but they're actually just a an evolutionary link. That's how they call them too. So all the weird mutations that make them look like creatures or monsters is like all like weird revolutionary. It's just bullshit. But it was a cool show. It was a funny show. Um. So yeah. Anyway, so they had this feud, so that's why they couldn't like have as much like references or characters show up. That was one of the reasons. They didn't sync up stuff. That's why you had in Agents of Shield this big weird. That's why it's probably decanonized too, because in the fifth season they didn't have the snap as a thing. You could talk around it and whatever, and like or was it the sixth season? Yeah, I think the sixth season. Yes, that's the one because season five was when they went to the future, when and they had to go then to the past. To there was a big catastrophe that blew up the Earth, and then they went back to the past to like fix it. It was pretty good, but then in the sixth season they had an entire storyline where because they weren't allowed to reveal the snap because it was released before the the Avengers Endgame or whatever happened. So sadly, I think this is a show that's just gonna be like, oh, it's one of the timelines, not part of the sacred timeline, and it's like it has been also like not part in one of the canon Bibles, but they can't make up their minds. So I don't know. They haven't straight up said it's not canon, but I don't know. It should get more respect because it was the first live action MCU like full series, not like one shot for the MCU. So and there was some cool things about it. They did have Ghost Rider, if even it was Espanol Ghost Rider, si senor. He was still okay. I liked this. His car was cool, and I know it. They at least acknowledged. I mean, because there has been like two uh, white. They acknowledged Johnny Blaze because there was also I think Dave Ketch or whatever, like some other guy who got it. And the Ghost Rider spirit was passed on from one guy to another, which they have actually shown. So and they had Deathlock from the in the first season, and he popped up here and there. I still have one season back with that show. Like the last two were like shortened seasons. But either way, that's another topic. I don't know about Agent of Shield. I'm kind of mixed. Inhumans was bad. It was kind of a waste of the characters. They were never mentioned. It's probably gonna be decanonized. Other than the Inhumans were featured in Agent of Shield, showing that um, I think Marvel was playing with the idea to have the Inhumans be their version of X-Men, so they can have their whole like storylines with mutants. And they had Black Bolt, but it was an alternate universe Black Bolt with an actual good costume appear in Doctor Strange, and it was the same actor. So maybe Inhumans is like canon, but apparently they were not involved with the Thanos battle or anything. But maybe they were. I don't know. Like um, I would have the best way to retcon this. Or not to rect. You don't have to retcon. You can just say like they've been like in hiding on the moon and on Earth on the Hawaii thing for a while, and but then when Thanos attacked or when Ultron attacked, he killed them, most of them, something like that. Because the other Inhumans and Agents of Shield, they were hidden in hidden communities, and that was the other Inhumans that were separate from the original ones on the moon. So there's ways around it. You can fix it without big thing, but season 6 is like probably you could make seasons 1 to 5 from Agents of Shield canon, but season 6 is kind of a, you could say maybe the time travel affected the timeline, and it became, it splintered off into its own thing. That's what they're probably gonna say. I don't know. I still like Coulson even through all the bullshit, but he's still an iconic character. And if they're just gonna say that, oh, he just died at Avengers, and they're just gonna retcon all of Agents of Shield, I think, I don't know about the Runaways and Cloak and Dagger, but they both looked really bad. So, or the Strom, like they said, it's its own thing. It's yes, it's a Marvel character, but anyway, probably that Marvel, because as far as I understand is that after which phase? I mean now, because there's the whole superhero fatigue going, which they know. Season 6 will have which technically starts this year with Fantastic Four First Steps. And apparently we'll still have an Avengers movie with Avengers Doomsday. So what I'm thinking is that but well, the Avengers Doomsday is not going to be 2025, it's 2026. So this year we had, I haven't seen Captain America Brave New World. I don't know if I want to see it in theaters. I might just wait till it's on Disney Plus and just whatever. Um, and you might be asking, if I hate Disney Plus, why do I pay for it? It's like, it's not too expensive, and they have some other shows, and there's still some. They have also all the good MCU films except the Spider-Man ones. Although the Spider-Mans, I have my problems because they're Sony owned. That's why. Like at least partially, like whatever. The point is that they have a better chance of popping up on Netflix, which they have been. And right now, at least here in Hungary, all the Spider-Man movies are on Netflix except the MCU ones. But so Captain America: Brave New World, I hear, was really bad. So I don't know if I really want to. Like, it's kind of a pain to go. This might be the first. I think I've seen every MCU movie in theaters. I think so. Nah, maybe not Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I'm not sure about if I've seen that one. Yeah, maybe Captain America: Brave New World is gonna be like skipped, and maybe not Black Widow. I think I have seen Shang-Chi. I wish I regretted it. And Eternals, Jesus Christ. I don't know about those. I don't remember if that's not okay. That's not true. I probably, there's a couple that I haven't seen in movie theaters, and I don't know. Captain America: Brave New World. Do we need that? It's just gonna be probably really bad. It's just gonna be like trying to be kind of sort of Captain America 2, but now we have Red Hulk, and that's not a spoiler. I mean, it's really on the cover, and it's also retarded because like Mr. Falcon doesn't have the super soldier serum. Even it's, I know it's the buffed up version in the movies for some reason, like, but anyway, which is ridiculous to fight any Hulk on that level. Like Hulk, okay, he's got the shield, but Hulk should just pulverize him with one shot. That's the big fight. Whoop-de-doo, and then Thor comes along or somebody. Or Captain Marvel. Anyway, Lobo should come there and kick his ass. I know Lobo's DC, whatever. Actually, anyway. Um. Anyway, Thunderbolts. Probably gonna be shit too. It is their version for Suicide Squad, but I think Suicide Squad, people are like sick of that concept too, because it has, you had the Suicide Squad, then you had the second one, which was received a bit better, and that spun off into Peacekeeper or whatever it's called. I think, yeah, the John Cena show, which I hear was good, which might not be. It won't be completely retconned. It's just gonna be merged into the new DCU, but probably all the any kind of reference to Justice League will be non-canon, whatever. Anyway, Thunderbolts Asterix, whatever. It has the only thing that makes it better than Suicide Squad is because MCU had more movies and they have done better, and they actually. But one thing is that any of the cool villains they mostly killed off, quote unquote villains like Thunderbolts. Thunderbolt. I know I'm still not talking about the shows, probably because I don't want, but whatever. Thunderbolts, like, does it even have like? I mean, they had they have Bucky, which he was a legit villain, and that's a good addition. I think he was in the actual Thunderbolts, but they don't because Baron Zemo was at one point. I know that he's been. I don't know that much about Thunderbolts, but I know that he's been a leader of the Thunderbolts, and they have him in the MCU. He even wore the mask. That's that actually quite famous German actor playing him. But now the leader is like, what's her name? What is? Oh yeah, Julia Louis Dreyfus as Contessa, Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, and that's like their Amanda Waller, and I'm like, I'm just expecting now the whole Seinfeld through. I'm sorry, but I just can't let it go. It's like Hey, I brought some friends with me, and it's just the Seinfeld guys, and like, oh, I'm really disappointed. Seinfeld says, I thought I'm gonna go into the DCU, not the MCU. It would be funny actually if the two Seinfeld and what's his name? I don't know, just imagining things that will never happen, but it would be kind of funny. It probably will be lame, but just the idea sounds funny. Oh yeah, George and Seinfeld, like Jason Alexander and Seinfeld, but they're like villains now. It's been kind of funny. I mean, they fucked up MODOK already, but George Constanza might be a great MODOK. You know, like voicing him and shit. Like, and I think I don't know, like I don't know who's Seinfeld. Here's a question to the Beast for you guys. If Thunderbolts, if the characters, I don't know, we have which villain is Cosmo, aka Michael Richards, so Kramer, Michael Richards, and which villain is Seinfeld? And we have Elaine already cast, Julia Louis Dreyfus, but Jason Alexander, aka George, who is he playing? I would say MODOK, but technically they have him in the MCU. Um, but they ruined him. That's one of the big things for Quantum Mania. That was a big faux pas. And then who's Seinfeld? You know, I got to think about that. I would say it once, like, but anyway, I'm not because they have like what's his name? They have oh yeah, Yelena Belova. Oh, Yelena Belova. Yeah, it's they have like the Black Widow's sister, and I'm like, it's Black Widow, but at home. I'm like, I don't care. They're gonna have Red Guardian from Black Widow. Now, was he really a villain? He was just Soviet, like Captain America, right? And he's just a big joke. Like, hey man, I have stupid Russian accent. I drink vodka, and I am a middle-aged. I'm an old loser. I'm a boomer guy, and I never been big because I was in the secret Soviet world. You know. I think actually Red Guardian could have been much cooler. They're gonna have U.S. Agent, the who was Captain America for a minute in the Captain America TV show, which we'll talk about in a second. Female Taskmaster. Oh yeah, the ghost chick from the ghost villain chick from the Ant-Man and the Wasp. But she's not evil. She's just a tortured soul. She's just a tortured soul. Oh, I'm so sick of this kind of tortured soul bullshit. Apparently, Sentry is gonna pop up. So I'm curious. I'm really curious because Sentry is so powerful because it was another attempt at Marvel to rip off Superman, and he's got like Silver Age Superman power, so he could like fart at the Earth and just make it explode. But what I'm guessing is that Sentry, if they're gonna have Sentry, because everybody else is like mostly very street level, low tiered characters. A bit like, okay, I guess Winter Soldier a little bit higher, but everybody, and Taskmaster, I guess, but they're like mostly low. So their powers are very similar. It's like the chicks, of course, have the ability to wrap their thighs around guys' heads and break them, distracted by them. But it's like, well, yeah, you know, Yelena Belova, Florence Poe. Florence Poe, you're good looking. You're not quite original Black Widow good looking, but you're good looking. I mean, like, I guess. I guess. I don't know. It's gonna be like, oh, we're so edgy, we're so cool, we're the bad boys, you know, we kill, and I'm like, well, the other guys killed already, so it's like, big whoop, I guess. Um. Anyway, sorry, I'm just talking about the movies now, but all that I wanted to say is that, so they're gonna have apparently Fantastic Four movie, which I talked already about, and it was just a teaser. We'll wait till we get a full trailer, watch the movie. We're gonna have Avengers Doomsday in 2026, and probably a couple of more movies still then, because then Avengers Secret Wars. And as far as I understand, they say they're gonna have a semi reboot after set 27. I'm gonna be really I'm gonna be curious if they will still make MCU movies, because like if they start continuing to bleed money, um, I think that they might, at least for a while, put them on the back burner. You know, the only reason why they would still produce this kind of slop is to keep the rights. You know, because they have to prove that not only do we bring out comic books that nobody reads, we're also now making TV. Also, our movies and TV shows are not being watched, and that also like that the merchandise, our biggest thing, which is supposed to be pushed by these, is also suffering. Because who wants to have characters based on the Eternals, like Fastos? Do you guys remember Fastos? Fastos. Yes, gay black fat guy. Greatest Marvel MCU character ever that will never be talked about again. They'll probably show up in Secret Wars, maybe in Doomsday, but in Secret Wars they show up as a cameo, and then maybe most of them will get killed off because nobody cared. Nobody cared. Because again, oh yeah, and apparently there's still the Blade movie and an Armored Wars movie which is in development hell. Um, Armor was supposed to be one of those miniseries, but now they retool it as a series, as a movie. But Blade has been in development hell, and so is this Armor Wars. So who knows if those get made? They said, "Oh, we're still working on them. We're still working on them." Let me be the judge. I'll wait and see if those come out. Okay, back in the day, I remember when they said like that what's his name? Inhumans was supposed. It was a movie at one point. So we'll just wait and see what's happening. Okay, what's happening, man? Anyway, so I know I'm just. Ugh, it took forever to get there, but we're here now. Fucking only almost 40 minutes later. But you know how it is with the Beastcast. It's like it is. It's just that it is as it is. Um, WandaVision. Oh god. So again, as I said, spoiler warning, spoiler warning, spoiler warning. If you actually do want to watch any of the Disney Plus TV live action shows, then turn around now or forever be spoiled. But honestly, you're not missing anything. Honestly, as Burger Writer says, you didn't miss anything. WandaVision is a mostly boring show. Wanda, this is after I think Endgame. Vision got killed as the crystal was removed, and Wanda with her, because also this is actually correct to the comics. her magical powers, because she's like a witch. She has like specifically reality altering powers, and she has changed the nature of reality multiple times in the Marvel universe on a big scale, which is all true. Here she's decided, you don't see this at the beginning. Right then, it starts out as basically the first few episodes are like it's Wanda and Vision, but they're like part of a of like kind of a parody of a very popular TV show at the time. There's like a black and white show, then there's a 70s show, and then there's an 80s show, and they kind of like, oh, this is like what's his name? Leave It to Beaver, the first one, and then this one is like some 80s sitcom, whatever the fuck, you know, and it's like just all the tropes, but oh, it's Wanda and Vision, right? Wanda Vision, right? And then slowly it gets shown that people, you know, they're like looking at this, and apparently she created this reality bubble around this town where she's controlling all the people and altering the reality to make it look and feel like a TV show. And in the TV show, at one point, she has like the two twins basically with Vision, and it's just like where I think that's yeah, that's when I have Monica Rambeau. She was also Captain Marvel at one point, and she had other names too, but I don't really care. But sometimes in the show, she like gets somehow she gets knocked back by magic, and then that's how she gets her powers. She shows up in the Marvels movie, which also sucked, but whatever. Um, what was happening apparently, as far as I remember, there's like again Monica Rambeau and this Asian guy tried to like break into the bubble, and I think Monica Rambeau succeeds, and then eventually she gets kicked out. But she gets into the reality bubble, and she's trying to figure stuff out. She's trying to confront Wanda with it, but she's basically in mourning, and because she has these great powers, she's like ignoring this stuff. But in reality, she's being manipulated by Agatha Harkness, which again I was like, oh, I remember her. She was like a witch. I'm not that familiar with her, but all I know is that she was a witch and she was the babysitter. Might have been actually the grandmother, somehow related to Sue Storm, but she was the babysitter to Nathaniel Richards, the first son of Reed Richards. Uh, oh yeah, one second. Oh, that's Kang. Nathaniel Richards is Kang, as far as I know. Who's of course black, because if two white people have a child, it's black. Apparently. I mean, if it's their grandson, if they had a son or daughter and he married, I guess that would work. That'd be fine. Um, but yeah, we know how we also know how that went with the MCU. Franklin Richards. Now, Franklin Richards, I remember, and Nathaniel Harkness was the babysitter for him, and he had like insane OP powers. Okay, and she used her witch magic to like kind of keep him normal as much. Oh, yeah, he's a human mutant. Um, Depowered human mutant mutate. Okay. Anyway, yeah. So, and that's all I remember of Agatha Harkness. And she was much older looking, and she looks more like an old witch, you know. But here it's like whatever her name is. I think. Let me having too many links open. That is beginning to be a problemo. Okay, so oh, yeah, Catherine Hahn is Agatha Harkness. and she has like Agnes O'Connor. So she's like a character. First, you don't know is she's just a character who's like she's like the neighbor, and she's in every version of the universe in there. And first, you think, well, she's also just being mind controlled, but she's actually manipulating Wanda because later on you'll find out also in her shitty show is that she like takes powers from other witches. That's her thing. But anyway, yeah, that's how it ends. They have like mostly it's like, hey, it's a shitty TV show, but now it's with Wanda and Vision. Is that what you wanted, people? Yes, yes. We get excited we get excited for the slop, and then we for the content, and then we get excited for new content and whatever. Ugh. It's bad. It's not the worst show. I mean, at the end they fight. They do like the little magic thingies against each other. Again, it's just a mini series thing, and this is the first quote unquote series that shows the problem with the way how they make these shows is that really this is like a movie that they wanted to have kind of a lower budget on, and I don't understand why it had to be a miniseries. I feel like a 1.5 hour movie you could have told this entire story just fine. You could edit this show into a movie. It still would be shit, but you wouldn't be wasting as much time of your life. Okay? Um, and so I don't understand why this had to be a miniseries. It's not really a series. Yes, okay, there's one episode where it's in this show or whatever, but ultimately it's just one long story, you know. So that is whatever. So should basically the spell breaks and the people are released, and then that leads into some other stuff later on with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, because there she becomes the villain, which is also totally fine because that fits her character because she was a villain originally and then became a hero, but then she became a villain again because she has kind of this kind of loose grip on reality and her emotions and her powers. So that's why she's like that. Um, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is basically the aftermath of Cap, basically going into the other timeline, aging, and then it's assumed that he dies, but we never see this, you know. But I don't know if he stayed in that other timeline and just died there and but probably not. I don't know. But he's dead and buried, and they are like trying to deal with that, and you know, Captain America. Steve Rogers gave the shield to Falcon, and because that was like, and this is the what the whole thing is about is that Bucky there was a comic where Bucky then, you know, when he became I remember reading that where he comes back. They have the whole storyline that he didn't die, but he was frozen down. He was captured by the Soviets, made into their own super soldier, the Winter Soldier, and then he was thawed out at the time. So he did age, but not as much. He's just like physically in his 30s because he was thawed out a couple of times. So he's like dark and edgy, brooding Captain America, but he was like Captain Soviet. Um, the whole storyline is he has this Manchurian candidate programming, so Cap, you know, he believes in him and he wants to bring him out, just like in the second Cap movie. That's the comic they were basing that off, the comic storyline, which is fine. It was a very good movie. Many people call it the best MCU movie. I think it's pretty good. They say it's the best Cap movie. I'm like, eh. Personally, I like Captain America 1 because it's classic. It's in World War II, as it should be. He's fighting the Red Skull. And that's the only one he does it in live action. So it's like, yeah, the second one is good in certain ways because it's Cap in modern times and it has the cool like spy-fi thrillers. It's like the old Hydra taking over Shield thing, which is fine. But I like the more classic stuff. I want him to fight like like World War II stuff and whatever. That's something I think is cooler. But that's me. It's still a good movie, the second one. I just prefer the first one if I gotta choose one. But anyway, so it deals with this, and then it's like, I don't know, Bucky and Falcon, they're like I don't know. They're kind of having their own bromance and thing. I think the villain is supposed to be like so basically. Oh yeah, this is what happens is that but you know the shield is given to Falcon, but he doesn't want the shield because I actually like the Falcon and Sam Wilson, but Anthony Mackie's pretty good for the role, I think. But one thing that bugs me about it um, is that this show is really made me like hate him for the most part, and I think this new movie is just going to continue that trend. Um, so Sam Wilson, Sam Wilson, a Falcon, he's still working for the government. Bucky, I don't know, he's like going to a therapist or some bullshit. I don't know, like I don't know, or he's in Wakanda, whatever, scratching his cyborg balls or something. I don't know. The point is that um, the story. I think the villain. Who was the villain? I mean, okay, so John Walker, aka the U.S. agent, as he's called, um, because in Marvel, I think when they had this thing where they had Captain America, and then they had this kind of thing where, well, it's not actually. I think they needed it to do it to change that he's not the what is it, Steve Rogers, but he's a different guy got the moniker, and the guy here is a U.S. agent. Now, U.S. agent, I remember him as the guy with the black cap suit, because his suit was similar to Cap's, it was just black because he's darker and edgier. He has a gun and he kills people, you know. Which yes, in the movie, in the first movie at least here, if he would use guns in the MCU, but then when he was in World War II, but then not. Which I actually enjoyed. The point is that with John Walker, U.S. agent, I think it was okay, but I don't know. It was just this. He had like his best friend and whatever, and oh yeah, they were fighting Flag Smasher. But get your fucking ready. Like, okay, if you look up Flag Smasher, okay, um, he's literally like a Nazi villain who um, let me see here. It's one of those characters that it's one of the worst butchered characters. So in he's like I think he just wants to destroy like governments or whatever or something like that. But he is a Captain America villain, and he actually had a anti-nationalist. Yeah, so he's like all about nation states needs to fall and so on. So he's also not just anti-American; he's anti every state. I think I don't know him that well, but I really liked his. He had a black and white costume, typical superhero costume, but I think it's pretty cool. He has this big belt. I'm just looking at it right now with the world on it. Of course, America, so it's like anti-America, whatever. And he's got like these red. He's got like these Batman-style eyes, and he's got like, but sometimes they're white, I guess, depending on the artist. And then he's got a black cape with a red inside, and it actually looks quite dramatic. And it's obviously also quote unquote hinting very subtly at Nazis, But he's not directly a Nazi villain, but he kind of is, I guess. I don't know. And of course, he's fighting Captain America, who has literally the American flag on him. So it's like that was the idea. And he's got a big mace for some reason, and I like it. And it's like if the character would have looked like this, but of course they had to redesign it. And so now it's this, the post-snap era. No, it's actually the post-snap return era. So when the people returned after the 5 years, now the world is in like disarray, and there's all these displaced people kind of shit, and it's of course the whole like migrant crisis bullshit. And instead, Flag Smasher is like this half black ginger chick, I guess. I don't know, like, and she's this actress. She was in Willow, so I just automatically hate her. I have automatically 1 million points of hatred towards her because I don't know. She's just an annoying person, I guess, and also she's just ruining shit all around, you know. And wait, here we have here this actress. And okay, this is the other thing. They have to like rename them or whatever. Flag Smasher. His name is Carl Morgenthau. Okay, there was two Flag Smashers and Guy Therold. Okay, fine. But which is often the case with a lot of these characters. And they just renamed her Carly Morgenthau. Erin Kellyman, okay? I can't stand that woman. I want to punch her in the face. No, not really. It's joke, joke, joke. But I don't want her to ruin stuff, okay? Willow is the big one here. I don't care that much because she's quite a forgettable villain. Basically, in the storyline, she's basically an anti-fat person. I almost said something really bad here, but I don't know. An anti-fat loser, whatever, basically. But here it's now that the provisionary government, who's trying to deal with all the returned people, like literally half the population returning, because in 5 years you had more children being born, right? So now it's like there's not enough space and whatever. So it's like, she's just basically there, and she's like, well, we have to fight the system, blah blah blah, and we have to, I don't know, Marx is our greatest hero or whatever shit. I don't know whatever she says. It's just annoying, and of course her costume, quote unquote costume, is just a really shitty like baseball, like a hockey mask, a black one with a red hand, on it. Almost nothing to do with the original costume. This is one of the worst butchered adaptations of a MCU adaptation I have seen. Okay, like this is top 5 tier. Now I have to think a little bit about it, about all the villains and other characters that have been butchered, but this one is like, whew, not only gender swapped, it's like, but also just being an annoying brat. Oh yeah, and then she has this team of rebels, and they get their hands on, guess what? Super soldier serum, and they get injected, but most of them die. I think she doesn't die, I don't know, but it's like they have these scenes where then the new Captain America is fighting her, but of course he's a fascist because he's fighting for America, and that's wrong somehow, whatever. And then for some reason, the he basically feels like he's underpowered because they have the super soldier serum. And that's the other thing, is that I thought the super soldier serum only worked once. Now, okay, they had a long time to make new ones, but why didn't they make a new one? Other than the failed, of course they had. I guess they had Abomination, but that failed because he tried to fuse it. That's the whole point, is that. But I guess they do show that a bit. Either way, it's a fucking annoying show. They have, of course, what's his name, Falcon, like lecture all the white characters that be better, be better. You're too racist by existing. Why don't you shoot yourself in the head and not exist, and then you're better. I don't know, whatever the fuck they're talking about. Like, I'm just kidding here mostly. Um, it's kind of ruined the character to me because adding all this real life racial tension thing in the world that it is, it's just I didn't like it because they had also the black Captain America show up because they retconned a couple of years ago that the first Captain America was actually black, and there was like a team where they tested it, but then they died and one guy survived, and then they, because this was like, I mean, the idea is not that bad, but this was like referencing black soldiers in World War II and shit like that. But it's like when you put too much real life, just downer bullshit into these comics, I'm not a big fan of that. But they had him here, and he was an old man, and he was telling to like the other guys, it's like the government fucked me over, and then where was Captain America? And then they were shitting on Steve Rogers' legacy. Steve Rogers fucking helped to save the fucking universe, okay? So and he literally saved the world innumerable times, even World War II. Better have some fucking respect, okay? I don't give a shit about, oh, I'm the Falcon, I have wings, I flop around. I don't give a shit. I don't care shit about Bucky either. Okay, even though he technically should have been Captain America. I'm okay then, okay, fine. Well, it's gonna be Falcon. Fine, but this kind of lecturing constantly, this is what I hate. This kind of, we talked about this, the woke skinwalkers. Oh, guess what? What is it time for now, people? It is time for...
Go now, Yahoo! It's a bright, shiny day. And now it's time for what classic have the woke skinwalkers ruined today. What classic have the woke skinwalkers ruined today? What classic have the woke skinwalkers ruined today? Today's classic.
And yeah, one of the classics apparently was Flag Smasher from Marvel, but really the entire show is like, it's Disney woke skinwalkers. It's woke skinwalkers plus. That's skinwalkers plus simply. You know, it's like that's what it is. Let's be honest. At least the stuff, because I mostly just watched like older stuff on Disney Plus. Like they have some, at least they have some quality, some older stuff. You know, but they have a lot of their old cartoons, but they have only the first season of the '90s Spider-Man cartoon. Like, is it a Sony deal? Why? Because they have the rights to the cartoons. I know that. Sony has only the rights to the live-action movie adaptations. So I don't know what's up there. They do have the Iron Man show, which I'll probably watch because I liked it as a kid, and they have the X-Men show, of course. But that one is like, I don't know, 4 or 5 seasons, like 100 episodes. Like, I'll start with the Iron Man one. I remember as a kid it had the CGI scenes, which now are like really bad, but I remember. I am Iron Man. I remember. That was actually pretty cool. Anyway, yeah, I'm just at fucking Falcon. I gotta burn through some of these. So yeah, it's again like it ends up being like, you know, they have a fight, and he embraces then at the end because then basically U.S. soldier, he takes the serum, and because he's not the main character, Mary Sue, it affects him negatively, and then he goes crazy and he kills a bunch of the people, and they hate him. They take away his shield and they arrest him. But then there was hinted, Louis Dreyfus, you want a part of the you want to be part of the Thunderbolts? They should have really have Thunderbolts, the movie about nothing, you know. The superhero, the super, the ex supervillains that do nothing. Stop the slop. Anyway, so yeah, it's just preaching. Falcon preaches, just be better, be better. I don't know what that means, but just be better. Okay. I'm not a fan of it. Ruined Falcon, kind of ruined also Bucky. Definitely ruined potential Flag Smasher. But yeah, we can't have nice things. Then we have Loki. Oh God, Loki. Now, Loki is, maybe I shouldn't have said all the series because I probably can just rant on and on. Maybe I'll shorten this. Maybe I'll make a part 2. You know what, guys? I know this is very professional. Because I still have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 miniseries. But we'll finish with Loki. And I'll do both seasons. Because that show actually got a second season. Again, but Falcon and Mini Soldier was just a miniseries setting up basically how the Falcon becomes Captain America. That's the entire point of that. Oh yeah, and they did have, what's his name, Baron Zemo show up again, that actor who was in, I think, the second Avengers movie, or one of, I don't know. However, at least was that German Daniel Brühl, yeah. It's funny because I remember him in Germany being in a bunch of these teen comedies, whatever, like these German comedies, like whatever, romantic comedies and shit. And a couple of dramas, sure, but whatever. Um, so I'll make this the first part, and then the second part will be like maybe after some other parts because I need a break talking about this slop. But yeah, Loki. We'll finish with Loki because Loki is about for some reason. Now I don't know. This is a little bit confusing because it turns out you have all these timelines and whatever. And I think this is a Loki not from the main universe because he did die. This is a Loki that got snatched up. Like I think it's the Loki when they went back into the quote unquote alternate timeline to get one of the rings, just when the Avengers defeated Loki and they're transporting him down, and then he snaps up something and teleports away. And as he, oh yeah, he snaps up something, the cosmic cube, aka one of the Infinity Gems, as they have retconned it, and he now he transports himself somewhere, I think in time or in space, whatever, on another planet. And then he gets arrested by time cops, and it's not Jean-Claude Van Damme because that would have been cool. No, it's just a bunch of guys, like they're like look like security guys, but they have like these cattle prods, and it can also disintegrate people. It's like it can do what it feels, I guess. I don't know, but he gets arrested because he's like a what did they call it? Like a let me see here. Let me see here. What is it that they call it? Oh yeah, one is it? The time variance. Okay. He is some kind of a bad variant, and it's like the time variance authority that I remember from the comics. I remember them at least from one issue where they arrest where because it's funny because the Fantastic Four, they traveled in time ever since the 60s, even in the early episodes. Like one of the cool time travel, they once transported a dinosaur into their time, I think, and once they traveled back into the age of pirates, and basically they do what smart time travelers do. They dressed up into the local clothing, and the Thing dressed up as a pirate captain. Basically, what happened is he becomes the Marvel's version of Blackbeard, you know, and that was a cool one. But that's like the comics, and that was a different time. Anyway, the Time Variance Authority arrests him because he's a bad boy. Apparently, a variant, bad variant. Yeah, so it's not about traveling through time. They say they even say like because they do mention the X-Men universe, or maybe that's when they. Oh yeah, they mentioned later when because the Time Variance Authority returns in Deadpool and Wolverine, and the Time Variance for some characters that I decide create too much splinters, like time variants, because there's a sacred timeline and then there's time splinters from the main timeline. Okay, so when an event happens differently in quantum theory, but when you anyway, it doesn't matter. I won't go into that because even I don't quite get it, but I get it enough. The point is that from the main timeline, you have more new branches split off at a certain point, and they have these variants, of these that did cause too much mischief. They caused the new timelines, so they prune them, so they disintegrate them. Now that's what you thought, right? But it's more retarded than that. They disintegrate them, and then the timeline stabilizes, and that's what they do to. And it's like a little bit unclear what that means, but I guess like not doing what you're supposed to do. And there's this, oh yeah, there's this whole thing about if you have free will or everything is fated, everything is predetermined. And the characters who refuse that, they are like bad people, you know. And then they get hunted, and then they basically, and guess what? Guess who's there? It's your favorite guy. Actually, I don't know if I talked about Loki, but I think I might have talked about it because it's our favorite guy, Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson, man. Wow. Time travel and stuff. That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's me, Owen Wilson, your favorite. I'm not Luke Wilson, you know, I'm just Owen Wilson. And basically he's like it's again because these TV guys, they cannot think everything has to become a cop show or a sitcom, like a romantic sitcom, or some weird drama thing. You know, it was just like it's a sitcom, but now it's serious. So it has to be some kind of crime show or a sitcom. Everything has to become that, you know. Like if it's just a sci-fi show where it's like Adventure of the Week, which they did have too. No. So the point is that again, it's a miniseries. He basically Owen Wilson. He convinces the because he's an agent there, Mobius, you know, super creative. He convinces his guys that, you know, he's a smart guy and we're hunting another Loki variant. But guess what they do, guys? It's super original. It's a Loki variant, but who is a woman. Yay! And of course, she is better than everything than the male Loki villain. And because Loki is a completely self-absorbed narcissist, he falls in love with her, with himself, basically. Anyway, so they go on this whole thing where they go through different time eras and stuff, and it's mostly boring eras. They go to one era, which is like near future 2070, and they are like in a mall or some, like not in a mall. They're in a Lowe's or whatever, or like a, how do you call these whatever you buy like tools and shit in, right? And one of those branches, and it's a big one. It's in, and then there's like a whole catastrophe happening because the female Loki variant, what's her name? What do they call her? Sylvie Laufeydotter. Anyway, they have like a nickname for her or whatever, but she is like she's fleeing the guys because she got one of their time travel gizmos, and she's the only way how you can flee them, kind of, because you have to flee them to worlds, to timelines that are being destroyed, like to worlds where there's big catastrophes happening, like where cities or entire planets are being destroyed because for some reason the time travel people, they don't, they can't follow it or some bullshit. Anyway, but again, they travel to the only, I think the only near future thing was that one, I think, where they went to like the 2070s, like Lowe's or something, and I was like, oh yeah, great. When I go to the future, I want to go into Sam's Club to see what kind of futuristic, like, I don't know, like 10 on 10, like chocolate bars they have or whatever the fuck that I could put in my futuristic store. That is really interesting. And then they travel, of course, to the 19th century, and then they meet the main villain, which is like whatever. Oh yeah, what is it? He Who Remains, who is like what's his name? Kang, right? Basically, eventually they get to the point where they get to the end of the universe, and Kang there has like, there was like the big time war where he fights against his other parallel universe versions of himself, which does come from the comic, and in order to keep peace, he has to basically like prune, and he made the time variance authority to make it so that the timeline doesn't shift out of, doesn't destabilize, and then, you know, they cannot kill him because it's like some bullshit, some timey-wimey bullshit because he's predicted everything and he's so cool. And I'm like, yeah, look, I like multiverse stuff. I do. I loved sliders and such, but it's like the problem was that he was supposed to be the big bad for the next phase. He was supposed to be the next Thanos. And then Marvel got like their ass blown out, apparently. This was pretty a bad choice of words, but they got like, like if you put so much on one actor, and we know how Hollywood actors can be, and yeah, apparently like he viciously beat his wife or something. I don't know, and he got arrested for it and shit. And then like Marvel was like, well, goodbye. We're gonna do Doctor Doom instead, and we're gonna hire the guy who plays Iron Man for some reason. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so they figure out some timey-wimey bullshit, and then the second season is more of the same, but like they have like I think that they meet like a past version of Kang, or what the original he who remains, who's like this con scientist con man, and they give him like some stuff and whatever, like so he can become that. In the end effect, in the very end, it is like oh yeah, they go to like turns out when they get pruned, they don't get disintegrated, they get transported to like the garbage dump of the multiverse, apparently, where all the Marvel Universe rejects land, because Deadpool and Wolverine also shows that. And he encounters a bunch of other versions of himself, including a very faithful Loki from the original comics, which was actually much cooler. That was like probably the only highlight for me. And then they had Kid Loki. Of course, they had Black Loki because, of course. And they had Crocodile Loki. So, yep. The point is that then there was this big monster. Basically, there was a big kind of cloud monster that ate them up eventually. So they were fleeing from that. But until then, and so they figure out a way to like to try to get away, to get back to where they were. And then eventually, I'm leaving a lot of shit because I don't give a shit. By the end of the second season, the universe is about to disintegrate, to explode, because the machine keeping regulating the timeline, like a loom kind of thing, is like falling apart. And but Loki, because of the timey-wimey Mary Sue bullshit that he went through, he's now able to freely time travel with nothing. So he like does the whole um what is it? What is that movie? Something of Tomorrow. Uh, of Tomorrow. Edge of Tomorrow thing, where it's also, or it's, sorry, Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrowing, where he basically can like, I think maybe it's like a specific point he can go back. He can he's trying over and over again for who knows how many times to Groundhog Day his way out of the problem. They're trying different things. They die every time, but he always manages then to reset, because just before everything disintegrates, he can like go back. He can slow down and go back. Then eventually, like the only solution is that he basically goes to the loom, and the loom explodes. But then he basically holds the loom together, and then he sits in the middle of it, and he like his crown, the horn crown reappears, and he sits down, and he becomes basically the god of, they call it stories, the god of the timelines, and keeps them controlled, which I thought was kind of cool, and kind of gives now a satisfying ending to Loki in a way, because I think Loki has been done to death. We don't need more Loki, because it's like, look at me. Even he was getting tired of it by the end of the show, and by all the movies appearances, because all the fangirls were like, oh, look at him. He's a skinny British guy who is like, he's like, you think he's a good guy, but then he's a bad guy. He's such a bad boy. I can fix him. I don't know. I don't give a shit. But yeah, even he was like saying when they were at the basically the toilet of the multiverse, they were like saying all the Lokis, all the fucking infinite variations of Lokis, they all had this one thing in common, that you know they pretend to become your ally, and then they betray you. That's what the Loki does, you know. And I'm like, wouldn't there be at least one actually good Loki, you know? Who like the reverse Loki, who's actually, and I guess that's maybe the main character. I guess I don't know. But yeah, I was not impressed by that one either. I liked some of the visual look. They had this retro tech look of the Time Variance Authority. There were some cool things about it. The time travel physics are like meh, and they get even worse when they revisit the whole, because it's more like parallel Earth traveling with some time traveling involved. You know, it's like, I don't know, like in Deadpool and Wolverine, you'll see when I review that why it was, the entire point was so Deadpool could transport himself from the 20th century X-Men universe to the MCU. I think they did it there better, and at least they used a concept from these shows in a way that was useful lore-wise, but without that you needed to watch Loki, the TV show or the miniseries again. Again, it's all my problem with that. It's their own miniseries, but yeah, it's again 1 hours 20 minutes. So apologies, guys. I will review these mini reviews for Disney Plus MCU shows part 2. I guess will be. I don't know if it's going to be the next episode. I think it will be something else. We'll see what it is. But before we continue and finish the show, we still have two big letters because now you guys know it is time for
Step right up to Beast Mail Show, where comments and discussions are in full flow. Grab a seat, take a load off your feet, let the jazz take you on a wild beat. Ooh. Bebop, doo-wop, swinging high and low. At Beast Mail, ready to go. Join the fun, come on and play in the jazz-filled world of Beastman.
It is time, for Beastmail. And now we're gonna read the letters that you have written. You can write them on Emerald Rangers, or on the next round when they come a week later on the next round, or on anywhere you can find me, on Twitter, on Facebook, or on Ghibli Goop, or whatever the fuck, I don't care, or on the Discord. I'll find you, I'll find your things, and I'll read them, because you're great. Anyway, so we'll start with Death Adder. Death Adder writes on February 20th, your experience with He-Man sounds exactly the same as mine. I totally checked out when He-Man went to outer space and jumped on the Turtles bandwagon. Yeah, it's crazy about the ginger side. I've had a crippling ginger fever for ages now. I hate to see them go, but they really want them go. But I've also noticed the list of advertisements will now have a beautiful ginger lass alongside a descendant of Wesley Snipes. Very realistic. If it would happen now and then, I wouldn't personally give a shit. So, but that's me. It's just like if we could have actually some variations and some, I don't know, and you know what I mean. But I agree with you, really, I do. Sadie Sink is hot enough to be Tila, but I think she's a bit short. Yeah, she's a bit short, yeah. Laura Prepon, Donna from the 70s show, or Bryce Dallas would have been great picks 20 years ago. I found these two actresses from the last one. I'm not going to look at it. It's going to take forever until I find it, but those two are really good, I would say, and they're the right age. But yes, I would have brought up older actresses, but it has to be now, because now the movie's being made. Laura Prepon, I think, would have been great, but Bryce Dallas Howard, I think she's a better actress. They both look really good, and they're pretty redheads, and they're taller. I think they could do it, but I think Laura Prepon could have done it too. But yeah, now they're too old. For the new movie, Monica Baccarin is a great sorceress. You see, I agree with that. I disagree with you on that one. I said my reason last time. She's a very pretty lady. I think she's a good actress. I did like her in Gotham. But the sorceress is the mother of Tila, so it doesn't work for me, and it just doesn't. I'm sorry. You know, if you can find Monica Baccarin, a redhead version of Monica Baccarin, it's great. Monica Baccarin, Marina Baccarin. But you know what? I think that even though she doesn't fit visually exactly how I would like it, I think actress-wise she's gonna pull it off, and she has this beauty level that I expect from the sorceress. You know. Anyway, um, and Alison Brie is a okay Evelyn. Yeah, I like her as Evelyn, but I don't know. I'd rather have Margot Robbie as Evelyn, but you can't play every character ever. Yeah, you know what? Margot Robbie, I think she's got the crazy eyes. She might be a good Evelyn, but I'm kind of sick with her now. She's been pushed too much in movies. Like she is like Pedro Pascal, kind of almost. I mean, I hate Pedro Pascal more. It's like hard to find somebody who I like. It's hard to find somebody who I hate at least who has been like The Rock has been pushed way too much in movie and like Kevin Hart and those guys. But at least The Rock he does like mostly action movies that are at least okay, but they're often. I mean, nowadays it's a whole different thing. I might talk actually about the Black Adam movie. Would that be something you guys be interested in? Shout out in the commentary. Idris Elba is cool actor, but he's no man at arms. If they cast him as the character, at least make it funny. Have him smoking Newports the entire film or something. Ayo, E-man, where the white woman at? Stuff like that. I kid, of course. I mean that'd be funny, dude. That'd be funny. But only if it's a parody. And we had enough. Like we get it. He-Man is gay. Whatever parody, like Robot Chicken or whatever. It's like it's gotta be like it doesn't have to be dark and serious. I want it to still be like cool and bright, and there can be humor in it, like in the cartoon. But like I would like to have it like a bit darker, where they can have like people killing. But I mean, He-Man should be still a good guy. He only kills if you absolutely have to. That's how you do it with He-Man. At least that's how I see it. Um, because I think that's would be closer to how it was in the how they at least intended it in the original mini comics. Because as much as I do original, like if it would be like the 2002 cartoon, but a bit darker, like PG-13, like basically how they did with GI Joe, I think it was the right way. Like in G.I. Joe, they would kill people, but it wasn't like gory. It was just, well, it happens, whatever, you know? And that, because that's how I would like it, you know, where it's not like, do you bleed? Where Skeletor tells him, yeah, He-Man, do you bleed? Fucking, oh my god. Zack Snyder's Masters of the Universe. Honestly, might actually not be that bad. Think about 300. They are basically the original He-Man figures, those guys, the Spartans. So Zack Snyder has already like experience filming with guys, muscular guys in loincloths, wielding swords and other medieval or like ancient time weapons, whatever. Okay, and then I don't usually watch woke movies, but I don't know if I can resist the new He-Man movie or the new Mortal Kombat movie. However, I did watch the new Barbie movie about a month ago when I was done. It felt like I had a lobotomy done. The entire movie was crawling with woke skinwalkers. See, when I was seeing you like that, I imagined the scene from I don't know if you've seen you know what? I won't spoil it because that's actually a really great movie, a great old movie. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You'll know what I mean when you watch that movie. It's with what's his name? How can I forget his name? Fucking super famous actor. Guy goes into insane asylum. It is. Jack Nicholson. Okay, how could I forget it? Good movie. I would recommend it. But it's like a tragic comedy, so it has legit funny stuff, but it's also like a pretty serious tragic drama. So it's like it's if you want to be a little bit more serious business, but in a good way. Anyway, but Zack Snyder's Masters of the Universe, we don't need that either. Come on, Zack Snyder, he had his time with DC. He did like, I'm sure he like I could just imagine how dark and gritty it would. He would probably get Skeletor like super right, probably. Like, but he would do race swapping too. He's kind of a skinwalker, but that's the thing with the DCEU. We actually legit found a way to make it interesting for him, but he had to make it in this certain way. It was more like, but he didn't like race swap anybody. He wanted to have Jon Stewart as Green Lantern. I would have been fine with that. I like Jon Stewart. Hal Jordan could be like come later, or maybe he did exist already. He was just in secret, and you could have both. But you could have first Jon Stewart, um, and then he even filled the scene. But like DC said, no, no, no. We're gonna wait forever till we do anything with the Green Lanterns, and then James Gunn is gonna make. Guess what? We're making a Lanterns TV show. It's basically a buddy cop show featuring Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan. Jon Stewart is the new guy, and then Hal Jordan is the old grizzled cop, whatever. And it's going to be an Earth-based show. That's what you want to hear about a Green Lantern show, right? Down and gritty. It's the space heroes, but they're on Earth doing cop stuff, and probably will involve race. We have to boil it down, as I said, into a fucking crime show for budget reasons. And also because we can't write anything else. We can't write an epic sci-fi epic movie, but I know they were, well, we're going to have a movie then afterwards. It's like, who knows if the DCU is going to survive that? Who knows if the series even is going to be made? Right now, it's like at this point, we are at the superhero fatigue. The Superman movie has to do really well. I guess the Supergirl movie is ready production. So we're gonna get Jason Momoa as Lobo. We'll see. I hope this is gonna be cool, because that's gonna be really important to me. Because there's technically a live action Lobo on the Krypton TV show. I haven't seen it yet. I'll talk about it. I've seen an image of him, and I was like, there's some good, a lot of bad. But anyway, as usual. Okay, and then yeah, so the entire movie is crying with Volkswagen. Yeah, but I've heard there is a fan theory about. I haven't seen the movie yet, but there's a fan theory about that movie, and but I might actually try to lobotomize myself. Now here you will see that the Barbie review, and then of course I have to watch Oppenheimer too, right? The Barbieheimer. Probably Oppenheimer is going to be really good, because yes, Nolan is Nolan. I warmed up to Nolan. I will say this with Christopher Nolan. I appreciate that he tries to avoid CGI whenever possible, and he's making now the Odyssey, the movie, a new adaptation of the Odyssey. Now I really hope there's gonna be actual like mythical creatures and gods and like the Cyclops and Charybdis and all this stuff. It really has to be, okay? I really want it to be. But if he uses actual physical effects and like guys in costume, I'm totally up for that. Maybe some CGI just to enhance it, whatever. But I'm up for that. I just don't want it where it's like, oh, it's not a Cyclops. It's just a nation of people where the king has one eye poked out or some bullshit. It has to be a fucking giant dude who is the son of Poseidon, and he has a bunch of sheep, and he's making cheese, and they get him drunk, and they poke out his eye with a hot fucking piece of wood. If that's not the case, then it's again back to hating Nolan. But I even like his Batman movies now. I know, there's a famous No More Nolan episode. I know it has changed. He actually, I would say this, the third one was still bad, but And he didn't want to do the whole cinematic universe. Fine. For what they are, especially the first two Nolan Batman movies, they're quite good. I know, I said it. Now, we are. I know you wouldn't have thought that I would say that, right? That's things are changing. And then you say an '80s cartoon and make a non-DEI live-action version of The Centurions. The Centurions. In the near future, Doc Terror and his cyborg companion hacker uh, use their machines to try to conquer Earth. The intro is great. It's just where the guy talks in this fucking announcer voice, and he explains basically the basic plot. I liked it as a kid. I know it was a show that wasn't apparently as popular. The toy wasn't as popular. They say it's a failure. It had 65 episodes. That's not really a failure to me. I think the toys sold okay. Of course, they weren't because there was only so much market share. As a kid, I liked it. I think I've seen a toy here and there of the Centurions. But it's great because that's one of the cartoons where in the show it shows you how to assemble your toy, you know? Talk about like a 20-minute advertisement, right? But it's actually a really cool concept because I think it's set in the near future of 2020, right? It's totally in the future, guys. But they are basically they're basically Iron Man who teleport into different eras, but they can also switch abilities. That would be probably the easiest thing to adopt, because you don't there's some episodes. There's like one or two episodes where they feature magic, but overall it's mostly like a sci-fi show, and it's these government superhero guys with power armors, like Iron Man, but different enough where I think it would, and they are like a team. One guy's in the sky, and it's actually in some ways more realistic, other than the teleporting. But the flying guy, the way how he flies is there is a guy. There's like two people. There's a couple of projects where they have like these jetpacks where they're able to fly that way, and it's really cool actually, the designs and everything. Oh yeah, Jack Kirby, he worked also on the designs. Jack Kirby, for a while when he left Marvel, he helped Ruby Spears with some design of the character concept, like Thundar the Barbarian, which is instantly, when you look at that show, it really feels like a Jack Kirby comic. But also with Centurions, and it really feels like also like a classic Marvel comic. So it's like, I think the only reason it hasn't been adopted yet, because they have done a couple of toy adoptions now. I think because there wasn't, other than Transformers, there hasn't been a mega hit. Because like GI Joe was so. They're trying again now. They're trying to do Marvel Transformers and GI Joe into one cinematic universe. That could work. I haven't seen the Beast War one. I did like Bumblebee, the reboot. Centurions would be really cool. I don't know who owns it. It might be Warner, and they might not care because right now they're doing DCU. If it's Warner because it's Turner, which is, like, then, yeah, it's probably, who knows, because, but the problem is, it's still pretty superhero-y stuff, pretty much. That's what it is. They're Iron Man. But I like the idea that you have, like, water guy, earth guy, and then an air guy. Although the earth guy has some flying things. The water guy at times, he's got the Aquaman syndrome. Although the way how I've been watching that show actually. By the way, I've been watching some '80s cartoons, and I gotta say, Centurions is really fun. Also because it's one of the many quote unquote American shows that got animated in Japan. Like, once you realize how many '80s cartoon shows have been animated in Japan, it's quite ridiculous. So we've been watching anime pretty much like for a long time, I guess. So the only difference is that the main characters, they don't look like Peter Pan syndrome people, because the guys, they were followed. The designs were done by American artists, like for example Jack Kirby and others, and all the scripts were written in America. Only the animation itself were made by big studios. Actually, big studios that made also different movies and other famous anime shows. And you can also see the way how they do the lasers and everything. It's really cool. Thundercats is also animated in Japan. GI Joe, Transformers, and Transformers originally was a Japanese toy that then got a new storyline made for and it was multiple toys actually, transforming robot toys, made into one series, and they created a new storyline for it. Um, So it's really in Japan, and then but then the cartoon got animated in Japan. It is what it is, right? But GI Joe also animated in Japan. I mean, one of the most American cartoons ever, animated in Japan. You know which wasn't animated in Japan? Masters of the Universe, the original show. But the Master of the Universe in space, or whatever it's called, the New Adventures of He-Man. Uh, that one is animated in Japan. I think also the 2002 one is animated. Like pretty much, there hasn't been like definitely not classic cell animation in America. It was mostly, it wasn't gone in the 80s because they had a couple of shows. The Hanna-Barbera cartoons, any cartoon that had a very simplistic animation since the 70s or even since the 60s, that was done in America. Because the reason why is not because American animation studios could do they could do way more advanced cartoons, as we know, because the golden age cartoons from the 30s to the 60s, like the Looney Tunes shorts, even from the 20s, the Walt Disney shorts, the full length animated movies, beautifully animated, but it costs more. To animate a 20-minute cartoon, uh, that's what they call full animation, where pretty much everything is animated. Although they do use some repeats too, as they do like animation, but not as much. But the Japanese, they got around with like using less cells, but they have their own tricks to get over the problems, and they basically work for like slave wages. So that's why they would get. And because the Japanese, they were really doing animation. They would do animation for a long time. They still do it till now, although now they also have been replacing more and more with CGI animation, which is sad because Japan was like the last bastion of cell animation. So it's sad, but it is what it is. It is a big industry there, and I do appreciate them also animating our American cartoon shows, which they are. I know the concepts, the stories, the characters, the designs, all done in America, but the animation stuff is still the bulk. You don't have a cartoon without them doing it. But Thundar was animated in America. So was Masters of the Universe. All the Filmation cartoons, from the first to the last, I think they were all animated in America. The last one was Brave Star, the Let's Go Ghostbusters, and then but Filmation has done, they've done the Flash Gordon, the early DC stuff like Batman, Superman, um, maybe I think also the Super Friends. That wasn't Hanna Barbera did animate Batman because they had the Dynamite crossover. I don't know anymore, guys. That's already way beyond my pay grade. Oh yeah, Filmation also did Zorro. They did a lot of Archie adaptations. But yeah, they would do a lot of where they would reuse a lot of animation cells of the same animations. That's why He-Man, he's got the same walk. Like there's three ways of He-Man walking, and jumping, and then also Tila. And even they would have certain characters just have the same animation, but they would add then just to make it simpler. They would have him like, oh, this guy is like Lava Man, but it's basically you can see the same animations as for He-Man, but he's now Lava Man. They would have the new sequences that they really couldn't, that they really needed for that episode. They would make new animations, but it is what it is, and I enjoy what it is because the 2002 one was where they had then again where they had full animation, and even the New Adventures, which I will actually watch. I did Clonked Out and I went Turtles, but nowadays I'm kind of warming up to it as its own thing, kind of, So it's never gonna fucking replace original He-Man, especially mini comics He-Man, which is probably the best lore wise. Maybe German audio play He-Man. I mean, cartoon He-Man is pretty cool, but in the comics, even back then, they could do more quote unquote edgier stuff, but not like dark and edgy. It was just cooler stuff like in the Marvel comics and whatever. But anyway, then there was this. Yeah, you said that. The Centurions. Centurions, I agree, would be a great movie, I think. Potentially, if it's done right. Of course, non-DEI has to be, no questions about it. You could even set it like, I don't know, 20 years in the future. something like near future kind of thing. It'd be fun, or like even have it like like how the '80s imagined 2020. You know, that might be fun. Go full. I would go full insanity because they had like a lot of holograms and shit and the big bulky computers, but whatever. Anyway, and then finally you said, "Great listen. Sorry for the lengthy comment. Never apologize, Death Adder." Autism, yes. To the death bug of doom, indeed. Okay, thank you, Death Adder, for the comment. Now we're gonna read Tom's comment, and yeah, Tom says, "You know more about He-Man than I do. Didn't even know this movie was being made. Most people don't know it unless you're really into it, because they haven't like really advertised it. I think they showed. I mean, now they had the announcement of the cast. They had the first leaks, quote unquote leaks. I think there was one official image of He-Man, but you only see his arm, a little bit of his chest holding the sword, which I will say this, that's the only thing that actually does look good. I can't complain, is the power sword. It's not perfect, but I'm happy they went with the classic design. Changed it a little bit, but it's still good. They could have gone with what I really hate about the 2002 sword. It's not the worst sword design for a magic sword. It's just not the He-Man sword, not the power sword to me. But it's like the Sword of Omens. The Sword of Omens is like, yes, in many ways it's a more practical sword in many ways, but I like both. But the Sword of Omens has also a very specific look. You know, the hammer of Thor, Mjolnir, the Marvel one especially has a very specific look, and so on. Didn't know this was being made for years. I heard that about making a Motu movie, but it seemed to be stuck in development hell. It was actually. This is not the one that you probably read about, because it was. There's at least 3 or 4 projects over the years. They've been talking about it. I mean, since forever. But especially, I think it really got more serious. The development when you had all the Marvel adaptions, when you had the superhero wave, then you had toy adaptions like, I mean, G.I. Joe, you had then Transformers. They were like, well, we got to have the third big one of the boy toys from the 80s, which was, you know, of course, Masters of the Universe. You know, that was one of the first ones, other than, of course, the Star Wars action figures. But Masters of the Universe was the first one where it was made to sell toys. It was basically a toy. It was a toy before it was a cartoon. Um, and it was the biggest hit. And then you had G.I. Joe come out, which was, yes, technically G.I. Joe existed in the 60s, but this was when they saw how Masters did well, they changed the style of G.I. Joe to like not the big dolls, but the really small toys with the articulation. And then they also had Transformers, and yeah, so that was the question: is where's He-Man? Because they had the movie in the 80s, and pretty much fans wanted to have a new movie, a better one. Although I like the 80s one for what it is, and I think it's good. But you know, maybe I'll talk about this one as an analysis. But I would like to have a closer adaptation, and I don't think we're gonna get that here. And I'm not gonna. I already talked about this last time. I'm probably gonna talk about it when I actually see it, or at least we get an actual full. We get a trailer, you know, even a teaser trailer. Um, but yeah, they had like 3 or 4 attempts. One time it was in Sony's hand. They had a guy cast for He-Man. Give me a second here. With the development of that film, I think the guy who they wanted to have He-Man play He-Man. Okay. So we'll just go this quick because I think that is interesting. Apparently John Woo was apparently being developed in 2007, but it's mostly like a rumor, I guess. But probably they were talking about it, but it was never officially agreed. I think it. Probably they were at least talking about it, but it didn't go anywhere. I think John Woo might have been actually not bad. Film rights to He-Man have reportedly they reverted to Marvel. So this is what happens: they license out the rights to the movie for whatever price, you know, Mattel says, you know, and they negotiate to a studio, and then the studio tries to make the movie. If in a certain period a movie hasn't been started, at least been started, and I mean being started, not just script, but you have actually the movie started, Depending on their contract, the rights revert back to the owners, the original owners of the IP. Then there's 2009. That's the Sony version. Took over the rights from Warner Brothers Pictures. So it was at Warner Brothers at one point to produce live-action adaptation after Mattel and producer Joel Silver. They couldn't agree on creative direction for the film. Well, I'm not surprised because I'm sure one guy said, "I want it closer to the cartoon. Oh, we have to do dark and gritty and like shit, whatever." And then the Sony, yeah, that's the Sony developments, and yeah, they worked actually quite. They started a script, a draft. John Stevenson would be directing in their thing. I don't know. He did Kung Fu Panda. 2009, it was announced that scripting duties had been handled to. And then 2012, John M. Chu, who did Crazy Rich Asians and Wicked. Of course, that's the guy to do Masters of the Universe. Of course. Hey man, Zack Snyder's Masters of the Universe doesn't even sound that bad at this point. At least he's done similar movies. He knows what this entails. Original He-Man actor Dolph Lundgren did an interview with IGN about the possible role in the film as King Randor. That would have been actually cool. That would have been really cool. Now he's a bit old, I think, because King Randor is like in his 50s, 40s, 50s, something like that. Because like He-Man, Adam is like 20, 18. He's pretty young, maybe 20 something at most. But King Randor, I think he's at most in his 50s. On 2012, Richard Rank was hired. There were constant rewrites. Blah blah blah. Oh yeah, here's the first time. 2013, Chu said that the film was still in an exploration and said it won't be campy but an origin story. But what does it mean not campy? Because everything is campy if it's like a certain degree of too much saturation for these guys. And I've said this before. Or maybe now I want to clarify. Pulp is not camp automatically. There's a style, a high-end, high-adventure, exaggerated style, larger-than-life style that is the style of comic books, but also cartoon. Like, camp is where it reaches a certain flavor to me, you know. But to them, it's camp. If it's not dark and gritty and like blood and gore and people whining and crying and being moody, then that's the only way. It's like, for me, that's kind of anti-camp. But anyway, it's like camp but on the other side. And he said, and the film will be set on Eternia. The report stated it would not direct from. Yeah, that would have. I mean, duh. That's how it should be. 2014. It's just a bunch of like directors, scriptwriters, just development hell. Like they cannot figure anything out. Oh yeah, in 2015, that Mech G, of course, Mech G. You know Mech G, right? Anybody who has a name like that is an automatic turd burglar to me. Because I get it, you want to have an artist name that is rememberable, but you made the Charlie's Angel movies and Terminator Salvations, and before that you did music videos, and they might be good music videos, but oh yes, exactly. It's like fuck McG. Anyway, they're getting strafes here, these guys, but too many fucking. So this John M. Chu guy, who the fuck is he? Why do I have still Flag Smashers? Okay. Anyway, it is a bunch of stuff, and that didn't happen. And now it's this one. Okay, I wanted to say still. Okay, here. Kellen Lutz. See, Kellen Lutz, I think, in 2016. Well, at least he's a blonde guy and a muscular guy. Oh, he's from the Twilight things. And Poseidon and Immortal. I think he could have been a good He-Man, I think. Now he's 39. Now he's a bit old. He's too old now, I think. He still looks pretty young, but I think 2016, that was like 10 years ago. He's a little bit younger than me. That would have still worked. David S. Goyer rewrite when Meg G left. Oh God, David S. Goyer. I mean, he still did Blade. I mean, I can't be completely angry with him, but whatever. Goyer intended for the movie to be on the epic scale of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and that his idea for the film will no longer be. Well, I mean, Goyer had like hits and misses. He had some good stuff, so it cannot be completely. But he's just in his interviews, he's just a complete turd burglar, I think. But you can have turd burglar tendencies. You can be a near burglar. I don't know. A near turd. How do you call this? Kyle Allen. And oh yeah, that was the Netflix. Okay, so they got it from the rights reversed, or they got it from Sony, because Sony couldn't do anything because they were like busy making shitty. Oh yeah, okay, this is the one I wanted to say. Noah Centineo. Horrible choice. Like, I don't know what they were thinking with that guy. Thank God. That other guy is much better, I think. Kyle Allen. I know it's like I'm just reading the fucking... Whatever. This is why you're here. Over... I think he could have been good. But he would have to beef up more. I'm just talking at pure visuals. I don't know how he is as an actor. But yeah. But Noah Centineo... No. Oh yeah, he was Atom Smasher. He was pretty good there. That is Atom Smasher. Yeah, but I don't know. Callan Lutz, I think, but Callan would have to like fucking roid up more. Get a roid up. Like Callan Lutz, I can see more roiding up. But anyway, yeah, and then we have it where it's like Netflix. It also revealed that Nee Brothers. In 2023, Netflix canceled the film after spending $30 million in development, citing budget concerns. Leaving for a new buyer caused the Nee Brothers no longer to be there. And now it's Amazon. Blech. I kind of wish this film gets canceled because it's just going to be bad, and I know it. I'd rather have no film anymore than have a bad one. Because it's just going to ruin the brand. And it's just, nah. Anyway, so yeah. You want an adaptation where the characters look like they're supposed to. And then he says, like going into his thing. Yeah, basically he's joking. It's like, yeah, how dare I, whatever, Years ago, I actually watched the entire 2002 He-Man cartoon, and I thought it was pretty cool. It is probably the best. It is probably the best version of He-Man, I'd say, at least in film form of some sort. I owned the Filmation one, but I never got around to watching it. Well, check it out. It is quite cheesy, not campy as they say. I will call it cheesy, but it's the 80s kind of cheese. If you embrace it. I mean, if you watched 80s cartoons, and you did, I know, but it's, you know what to expect, And it's Filmation, so yeah. I listened to most of this Beastcast and found it very interesting. Fuck those woke skinwalkers, I agree. And you say still, you're right, I think this movie will fail. I would be surprised if it's successful. Because you're gonna, as I agree with you, because you're gonna alienate the old fans, the hardcore guys, the old guys who are now in their 40s and 50s, who grew up with the toys, who grew up with the cartoon, with the comics, with lunchboxes, who bought the merchandise, who made the money, and they still buy the merchandise, a lot of them. Because here's something that you comment on. We've been getting a fucking ton of He-Man toys for the last few years. Motu Origins, Motu Revolution, the Motu line for kids. Then there's a crossover Motu toys like Masters of the WWE. and now Turtles of Grayskull. If you ever wanted a modern made He-Man toy, man, have they been providing them. Yeah, they have been, because they realized that the classics line that sold really well, but especially certain figures, they sold out quite quickly. And then Origins is the line where they look very close to the original toys, but they have more articulation. They're actually really cool. They actually made, in Origins they have like ones that where the figures, they look like the cartoon versions of them, because that's quite with also color wise and everything and design wise. Motu Revolution, that's also where it's the Revelation verse, the Masterverse toys. Now, as much as I hate that new cartoon, I will say that the Masterverse toys, what they brought with them is that the proportions are closer to like quote unquote normal action figures in size and whatever. So you could pair them up more with like the typical Marvel or DC or Star Wars figures. The Motu line for kids, yes, they made some adaptations for the for the new show that is targeted for modern kids. It's kind of weird to think about that they made now a toy line again for kids, because originally it was for kids, but it's been so long that it's been an adult collector's thing for a long time. But now the new cartoon, the new Masters of the Universe cartoon, where it's already called He-Man and Master Universe, is just, as I said, it's not for me. But I'm not that critical about it because it's just not targeted for me. I'll never watch it probably. If I do, I'll review it here and probably rip it to shreds, but that's me. Then there's the crossover. Now the crossover Motu toys are interesting. Masters of WWE, that's actually a cool idea. Now they have made the style of action figure of Masters of the Universe is very specific. Just like how, how Star Wars has a very specific, their size and how they're made. And now there has been at least a couple of companies that have made new toys in that style, but for different, also original ones, but also for different franchises, like Reaction. Those are kind of cool. I own one. I bought one at a con. No, I bought one at a nerd shop where I lived in Germany. There was a cool one, but the only one he had was like Black Canary from the Arrow TV show. So that's the only one I have. But I thought about getting more, and I probably will, because they're small. They don't take up too much space. But I actually took them out of the package. A lot of people, they keep them in the package, especially those. Well, you know me, I'm a package opener, like barbarian. That's who I am. And yeah, but Masters of the WWE, that's kind of a cool idea. I did see that. They have also made figures that are not officially a crossover, but they made figures that are in the style. Like I remember there was a Mortal Kombat figure line where the characters were in the proportions of the Motu figures. I mean, even back when Masters of the Universe was released, it was so popular that there was a bunch of rip-offs. Motu knockoffs are also now a big, especially original ones, they're a big there is a collector's market for like guys who are really into this stuff. They're kind of hilarious, honestly. Mostly like I think they're almost all from like made in China, although I think in South America they made some back in the day. There's some that are not so bad. There's also some American-made ones where they just emulated the style and the size, but there was like they even made a official Conan adaptation, which is kind of funny. They made one for Warlord, which was a Conan style sword and sorcery fantasy comic from DC, and other ones, of course. But anyway, Turtles, and then there's also Turtles of Grayskull, which is interesting. I saw that. I was like, that's kind of cool. It's kind of weird. I mean, but then again, those are two friends. I mean, just like Masters of the Universe, but especially also Turtles, they never stopped selling action figures, and like there's been always even. I mean, Turtle Mania was at its height in the early 90s. I would say it was at its true height with the first or second movie. You had Turtles everything. But it still continued on afterwards, even when it was dying out, because that's one you had also the most rip-offs too. And you had like Biker Mice from Mars and Street Sharks and all these guys. And then, I mean, those are good times. But I'm not surprised that these two they're now big. Turtles and Motu, they're big toy lines. They're very like people buy the shit out of it, and Turtles are still being made. I've seen some really cool ones where they had like now Turtles figures that look exactly like the movie Turtles and shit. Like it's crazy shit that they do now. Then they have like at this point, what they could make is like turtles that look like the. I think they probably did like where it had turtles look like a specific cover. I wish they probably did. I have to check if they made one where the old Eastman comics covers where they all have the red bandanas and they have the white eyes. Um, but yeah, I saw the Turtles of Grayskull. It's kind of a cool idea. Um, what kind of crossover would be still cool? I mean, they could do Marvel or DC, which would be kind of cool because both Marvel and DC had published their own versions of Masters of the Universe comics. First DC, I think actually the DC comic established a lot of the stuff that we know about, like King Randor, that He-Man is Prince Adam, and he changes into He-Man. Of course, DC invented that, I think. But who knows? It was a back and forth, whatever. But because of course it's like they're just doing Superman, you know. But even more retarded, the Superman Clark Kent effect. But yeah, like yeah, toys out there, and I gotta I haven't been buying really toys for a while now, but if I'm gonna buy anything, it's gonna be probably Masters of the Universe stuff, for sure, and some Star Wars stuff. At least I gotta get a couple of Star Wars guys, but definitely I gotta get some of this Masters of the Universe Origin. Probably I'll get. They had like again ones that are based off the cartoon, a line. Then they had where they look exactly like in the cartoon. Then they had one that were based on the original mini comic appearance, like Beastman looks very different and so on. Um, and they have adopted a bunch of characters. Also in the classics line, they a bunch of characters that never had an action figure got an action figure. Even Lizard Man that I talked about and such, like really obscure characters. Um, but yeah, I still have a few Master Classics figures in a box somewhere, but that's about all I have. But that's really cool. The Classics line is really cool, dude. Like I would at least check which ones you have because they're really cool either way, and probably also like some of them could be quite valuable. I know there's some, especially the convention. There are certain ones like Anti-Eternia, He-Man, the evil one from the other. But that one was like a convention exclusive. That one's probably ridiculous. You cannot just buy it. Even back then, it was super limited. And I don't mean like limited to 5,000 pieces. I mean like really limited. I had a bunch of WWE Motu stuff, but ended up selling it. Yeah, you know what? It's probably, like having too much of this stuff, not worth it. Like it's cool, but it's also you have only so much space to display them. It's also a pain to like transport them if you move or like dust them, whatever the fuck. But having like I know you never were really into Motu. There was other lines that you really liked. Um, I like He-Man, but I'm not like wild for it. Yeah, exactly. A properly cast Motu movie without wokeism could be awesome, but we can only dream of such a thing. I would say never give up, because I just say right now because these movies have been in development before things have changed. I'm hopeful now because people are getting sick of it. What might happen is that the superhero wave might die. It might die for a long time. It might die forever, just like the Western. But what I hope is that after that, if we do get an adaptation like that or a toy, like I think the Hollywood is noticing that people are getting sick with the superheroes and they're trying to pivot to video games because they want to have something that is some kind of genre movie where they can sell merchandise with, and they want to pivot to video games or to adaptions or to toy adaptions because this is also something you can target the man children with and also to the actual children. Because even if the actual children are just, they're playing their toys and whatever, they still might be interested in some ways, if for like a Fortnite skin or something, which I guess is the modern equivalent of an action figure is a Fortnite skin. But or like mesh or whatever you call it. Um, I feel like the fact that the youngest generation, the beta or the alpha generation, the alphas, right? I don't even want to know what the beta generation is going to be. It's the alpha generation with their Skibbity toilet, and then where Michael Bay is like saying, "Oh yeah, we're gonna adopt Skibbity toilet," just because he sees how popular it is. Like I don't want it's that's gonna be the end of everything. Okay, that's gonna be the sign of the apocalypse. To me, it's like, look, I'm sure our parents thought that the stuff that we liked as kids was retarded, but this is like a whole new level. This is a thing in a toilet. This is not just a generational thing. This is like, I know you heard this a lot of times, that the ADD riddled youth is, I don't know. I don't know, guys. I it's like Five Nights at Freddy was a thing, I guess, but at least it was, and I didn't like it as much because it also was like, it's kind of it was also a furry thing, but it was popular and it became like this big franchise by itself. But it's like where Skibbity toilet. That's just too much, dude. That's like a fucking toilet head from a toilet, and it's a fucking source code, source mod bullshit. Yeah, they had these source mod silliness. Sometimes they could be even funny, but I guess it's because, like, I guess that's always the new thing. I think it's gonna come and go. 30 years later, the Skibidi Toilet Cinematic Universe, Phase 69. The gaming beast was wrong. He is so wrong. It is the best thing ever. It won 5 Oscars and made $10 billion per movie. Although who knows how much $10 billion is worth back at that point. It's probably gonna be only gonna have skibbity bucks by then. So anyway, I don't know how the new Captain America can survive a fight against the fucking Hulk, especially without any super soldier serum like Steve Rogers had. But fuck it, right, Marvel. Next we'll see Squirrel Girl take on Juggernaut or something equally ridiculous. Yeah. So thanks for your comment, Tomcat. It was great. And I agree with you. Yeah. I want to see that. I want to see the Squirrel Girl being just disintegrated by the Juggernaut. I want him to just run through her. All these guys that have this, these fucking, they have this, the plot armor from the Mary Sue plot armor. It's just gotta stop. Gotta stop. It's not about being female or whatever, but for some reason Squirrel Girl was like, Squirrel Girl, this defeats Doctor Doom. Squirrel Girl defeats Galactus. Tee Squirrel Girl defeats Owen Wilson. That's okay because Owen Wilson. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm just being silly. Yeah. So we had the comments. I talked again a million years about something. I went off branches. It is a Beastcast. Again, over 2 hours. Jesus Christ. The trend used to be back in the day, it was 45 minutes maybe to over an hour. But depending on it, but I haven't done it for a while. It's probably gonna like level out length. But what do you guys think? And so I just want to do some Beastcast questions. Which TMNT rip-off cartoon or comic book, because there was also a lot of comic book rip-offs, do you remember? Is there one that you enjoy? I say this: is there one that you enjoyed? Is there one that you thought was really bad? I liked Biker Mice from Mars. I thought that was the one that did stick out. That was cool. Street Sharks was. There was Extreme Dinosaurs, and then there were Street Sharks too. You can't forget them. I haven't really watched. I think I watched an episode here and there, but Extreme Dinosaurs at least has a great intro. That's like the most 90s intro ever. Like it's Extreme Dinosaurs. Not only is it dinosaurs, but it's also extreme. In fact, the Image comics kind of get more 90s than that. Like fucking the fact that I gotta check if there was an Image comic, Extreme Dinosaurs Image comic based on the cartoon. Probably not. Probably there was a Marvel. Who knows if there was any? It only lasted a season. But Extreme Dinosaurs. I mean, come on. That's like only thing that was missing is them being on skateboards and fucking like drinking like some new version of Pepsi that is like long since gone that some YouTubers trying out now 40 30 years after its inception, like, oh, this tastes awful, guys, because soda is supposed to taste exactly like that in 30 years because that's what I've been told about stuff. Yeah, guys, I am YouTuber 69. I know, this is like everybody. Anyway, let's not complain about this. I'll just say, for a Death Mug of Doom, fellow Beastians, be seeing you next week. Most likely on Thursday, but I'll see you next week. For the Death Mug of Doom!
Raise your mugs to the Lord of Suffering, clanging jugs of torment and suffering. Drink of doom, raise your mugs up high. Drink your brew, drink until you die. For the Death Mug of Doom, raise your mug to the sky. For the Death Mug of Doom, drink it down until you die. So you think you're so metal? Why don't you put it to the test? You dare to question? Release the metal beast of death. Every time you doubt that I am killing the name, I will continue and I will kill and then I will kill again. For the Death Mug of Doom, raise your mug to the sky. For the Death Mug of Doom, drink it down until you die. Every time you doubt that